Okay. Alrighty, and so what's going to happen with this recording, I'm going to download it to my computer, upload it to my playlist on my company's YouTube channel. Within 48 hours from now, I will send you an email with a link to that YouTube video. So if you want to watch it again or send it to somebody else, that's why I make you register for the Zoom meeting, is so I can capture your email address, not just because I want to stalk you or something. All right. So Valerie, you are on. I'm going to go to speaker view because I'm so excited.
Okay.
With Authentic AI. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. I'm sure it sounds like everybody, maybe majority, maybe not everyone, has played around with AI on some level here. We've all kind of dabbled in it. And I think Nate was the one who mentioned in his intro that it's just like you feel like you've got it figured out one day, and then you turn around and it's like the game has changed constantly. It's hard to keep up. And so as I was crafting this talk, I really just tried to focus more on strategy versus like, hey, this is the exact, these 3 tools, you should use XYZ, because maybe this happens to you guys too, but I can't tell you how many times clients now are pinging me with, hey, have you heard about this AI tool or that AI tool? And they all want you to jump on and use whatever the new flashy object is. So we're not going to dive too deep into specifics on each individual tool. I'm happy to, talk specifics offline if you've got like a specific question you're looking for a tool on, and I'm happy to share that. But tonight we're going to really just focus around strategy, because honestly, what I've seen over the years is, even though AI feels like a pretty big disruptor, there's always new tools coming out. And it's more of how you're using them in your strategy, or not using them intentionally. That's really going to make the difference. I've been working in social media here for about 15 years, and there's always something new that can distract you from your strategic approach. And AI could just be one of those distractions. I do think AI has a pretty big impact. And so I do think it's something worth playing around with and having in your tool belt, versus being just some flashy, shiny object. But at the same time, if you're not using it strategically, what's the point, right? You're just wasting your time. So I'm going to share this deck here. We're going to walk through it. And then I'm hoping that in the last little bit of things that we have plenty of time to talk strategy as well. Maybe have some people share how they're using AI and what they're using it for. Took a few notes for some people that, like, when you mentioned some of the things you do. So I might be private messaging you later. Mm-hmm. Is it Keisha?
Yes, it is.
Keisha? There was one specifically for you with e-commerce. I just did an e-commerce class for AI. And got some really great information out of that one. So I'll message you separately about that, because there's some tools there. But so we're going to really be focusing on kind of how we can use AI authentically in our content creation. So a lot of these things, AI, I'll be honest, like I feel a little strange talking about using it with some of my client conversations, because there's this little nagging piece in the back of my mind of like, are they going to think that I'm just not doing the work anymore? And I'm guessing if I'm having that thought, other people have had that thought too. And so I don't want to come across as like I'm putting out garbage to my clients, because there's now this tool that can write a blog article for me in 30 seconds. What I found, as you probably have found, is that when you're using these tools, they really are just tools. They can't do the job 100% for you. And a lot of my clients, I'm finding, they are very niche and specific. And so to have them write something completely for me that's unique. I'm usually having to use AI more strategically as truly a tool that I am in control of, that then I use to customize. So, you think about building like a staircase or a piece of furniture. You've got the wood, you've got the saws, you've got the jigsaw, whatever. You have to know how to use those tools to make it look good, right? So really think about using AI as truly a tool. So we're going to walk through some different ways that we can do that. I think one of the obvious ways that we've probably all played around with ChatGPT and other AI writers is reworking and rewording things. I like to use this for subject lines in my emails to test and come up with some other ideas for subject lines. I've noticed myself that if you can get really strategic with your subject lines, you can increase your open rates for emails dramatically. I think the industry average for like a mass produced email that's going out through a mass email schedule type tool, it's typically like you're lucky if you're getting 20%, right? Like it's not great, but you at least still own your list. So it's better than some other channels. I've been able to move my open rate up closer to 40%. And that's simply by adjusting my subject lines. So reworking and rewording things, it's really great. I've also used it for social media ad copy. So helping like taking some basic phrases and then rewording it. I'm trying to think, I think it might've been Susan, I might've gotten that wrong, who mentioned like, putting it in a sassy, maybe it was Lori, blanking on it. Sorry about that. Putting it in like a sassy woman's, boss's voice or whatever. If you want to change who you're talking to in the ad, use AI to help you reword something you've already started and see what you like and what you don't like, and base it truly off of your audiences that you're building in your ad platforms. Email copy. I've used this to help me get started with a lot of email copy in funnels. What I've found is that it usually it's a starting point. I always have to flesh out the details. And for social media posts or website copy as well, or even blog posts, anything that's longer form, I really have to be careful to check and see, because there is just a certain tone that a lot of these AI writers have that they'll say things that just don't sound quite the way real people speak. So I use it as a starting point for longer form, really for any content, but long form content especially. I will use it as a starting point to rework. And I like it because of this asterisk here. I love AI because it really helps me get away from my content. So I work in a vacuum. As Joyce mentioned, I have a 2.5-year-old and a 5-month-old. I have been living in the 4 walls right here for work for the last 3 years. And I could probably still count on my toes and my hands how many times I've gone and driven into the city to go to a networking event or to go to a live client event. I don't leave my house much. I have a small group of team that I work with and whatnot, but I'll be honest, I'm pretty close to my work. And so what I like about this is that it gets me that third party perspective, if you will, to say, is there a better way that this could be written, right? And whether you get out and about more than I do, or you are, just wanting to expand your perspective. A lot of us are virtual teams. Whether we get out and about or not, it's good to have that third party perspective and get that other set of eyes on it if you're a small team. I also like to rework and reword things for making variations for different ages, demographics, intelligence levels. So if you're wanting to target people who have a PhD versus people who have a 5th grade education, when you're writing marketing content, that really matters, especially if you're in a very technical industry. Rewriting some things can be really, really helpful.
Excuse me, I think I need to interrupt. There's somebody who has their sound on, and I'm wondering if I just have to mute everybody and then you unmute yourself, Valerie, would that work?
Sure.
I think let's just try that. Let me get back to where I can, hang on a minute. View. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to get back to like gallery. Side by side gallery. At any rate, so I'm just looking. Oh, here we go. My bad. I just haven't had to deal with this. So participants mute. Oh, okay. So I'm going to allow. Okay. So now, Valerie, you can unmute.
Okay.
All
Can you all
right.
hear
I
me
think
okay?
we
Give
should
me
be
a thumbs
okay
up.
now. Thank you,
Okay, awesome.
everybody. Okay, gotcha. I think we should be good.
Yeah, so if you already have a piece that you've made and you want to quickly rewrite it to fit a different demographic, AI is a great resource for that. So what I found is just AI is speeding up certain parts of the process and helping take the writer's block away, to get me going. It gives me that starting point. All right. I also have seen AI being used a lot with transcripts. So this is one of the few ones that I'll throw in there. Fathom AI. I'm in a mastermind, and every mastermind event that we do or meeting that our group has, there's at least one or two people in our group that have just naturally, they've done it. So I haven't done it myself, but they have Fathom AI transcribing our entire meeting and recording it as well. And so it's nice because you can summarize the call, but let's say you're doing a podcast, you could have something like Fathom AI recording it and transcribing it automatically. And then you can take that transcript, pop it into something like ChatGPT and have it write a blog post or a show note article or transcript for you from the recording transcript from your meeting. So you can kind of reduce a lot of the steps of taking, I don't know about you guys, but transcripts have often been clunky to have to work through and see, did this transcribe things properly? This is a nice, easy way to take things and quickly get it into a really nice format that you can then read faster, because reading a transcript can be very, very cumbersome. All right, I also like to use AI for curation. So looking for frequently asked questions about a service. So if you're creating social media content or blog content, this could be a great idea to get the ideas churning around. Oh, okay, we're an HVAC company. What are the top questions that consumers ask HVAC companies or ask about air conditioners? That gives you ideas of, oh, we could create social media content. We could create YouTube content. We could create blogs. These are things that people are caring about. It's just an easier way to quickly get there. Ask for X number of tweets or social posts around a certain subject. You don't have to use them. Maybe you will, maybe you won't, but it helps give you some ideas of things that are trending that you could talk about. Ask it for talking points on a certain subject. I like curating ideas using AI tools because it helps me get ideas for, talking points for speeches, presentations, podcast episodes. It helps me give ideas to build out my content calendar. I also like to ask it for quotes that my audience might like. And so this can be fun. This is just a little teaser from the e-commerce class that I took, but we used ChatGPT to get famous quotes or puns related to certain characters that you could put onto, let's say, a mug or a t-shirt, and so you can kind of get in the head of a certain character. You can apply that. It doesn't need to be e-commerce, but you could apply it into all sorts of other applications where you are getting in their mindset, and you don't have to necessarily scour Google, because we all know that Google doesn't always provide us what we're looking for. I also like to use ideas for how to turn things into more of a story. So if I want to take a post that I've made or a story that I've written and clean it up for social media or for an email, I will do that. And then I also use the curation approach with AI to help build out the themes that I want to use in my content calendar. So if you're doing annual planning, you might go back and ask, again, what are the top questions that people are asking about HVAC companies? That'll help you determine, hey, for 2024's marketing calendar, because we all know clients are going to want to start talking about that in the fall. What are the different themes we should be touching on throughout the year? And just remember, like, your content calendar is always something that's somewhat fluid as things come up, like threads last week, brand new tool comes out, AI disrupts here in the spring. Your content calendar may not be set in stone, but it at least gives you the framework to get going. And then, like I said, I use it not only for the themes of videos and podcasts, but also helping me frame out talking points within one. So I will use something like ChatGPT, for example, to, hey, give me 10 talking points around AI for content curators. And I might record a podcast episode about that. I'm going to come up with exactly what I'm saying. Honestly, it might be just a question and answer with a friend or an interview with someone, but I'm using ChatGPT to help me get those initial questions or talking points so that when I'm live on my Zoom, I'm not having to come up with it from scratch. Okay. Now, this is one that, like, again, this is where, like, it's up to you how far you let something write it for you. I'll be honest, like, unless AI is just like really duping me, I haven't seen a lot of AI written content that I've created that I'm like, oh, that feels very, very authentic. And from what I've seen from other people, you can kind of fish out when something is a little too perfect, right?
Mhm.
So I like to use AI to help me write the first drafts of things. And then I almost always have to fill in the gaps to make it very specific to either my own project or my client project. I like to use it for the purposes of SEO as well, to say, because sometimes clients will give you a bank of words that they want to make sure are included in an article. This is a nice way to get it included and incorporated without you having to go through that whole process yourself. And then you can just do a pass to edit and reword things to make it sound as natural and authentic as you want it to sound. So I like it for the SEO side of things to at least get things going. I also like to use AI to help me learn. So I ask it to summarize certain articles' content if there's something that I'm just feeling lazy about. I'm personally somebody who likes to consume a lot of content. And so if there's something that I'm just like really needing to learn fast, I will maybe put a few articles into ChatGPT and ask it to summarize things for me. My husband was researching a real estate program that the state of Colorado has around businesses. And he asked ChatGPT to help like explain it in like plain English instead of all of the like legal jargon and attorney jargon or CPA jargon. And so it was helpful for him to kind of get just the overall big picture. That's something that he's going to, if he pursues it, he's going to have to hire a CPA and an attorney to help him actually execute it. But, it's one of those things where you can get to the finish, like high level understanding of something that's really complex in a short amount of time. You can also use AI to help you understand new marketing skills. So if you want to use it to help you learn something new in the marketing space or get some basic foundational understanding, you can ask AI tools to help you move through that process a little bit faster. And then also you can research like what are the top ranked websites for learning a certain topic, or who are my top competitors if this is my business. Like just start thinking through. I use at least ChatGPT, I use a largely like a search engine that is summarizing and culminating a lot of the search results into one easy to digest spot. Is it perfect? No. Do I have to do more research usually? Yes, but it does save me a lot of time versus clicking around on sites that I have to then dig for the information once I get to the site. So learning, it's great for that. Oops, there we go. Okay, I also like to use it to help brainstorm ideas. So there was another website that I used to use a lot. I still do. I used it a lot for a website called Lean Domain Search. Does anybody else use that website at all? It's great. It'll tell you like what domain names are available without you having to go to GoDaddy or something like that and potentially have them like start price hiking. And the other cool thing is once you, this isn't an AI tool, it's been out for years, but Lean, L-E-A-N, domain search. You type in, let's say I want to do I want to build a website around brainstorming, for example. I'll just type the word brainstorm into it and it'll give me a whole list of other domain names that are available that use brainstorm in it. So it might spark some ideas if I'm looking. I use it a lot for product or like book title generation, brand names. If I'm wanting to create a program and I want to come up with a name that might be more unique, I use it to help me brainstorm. Well, a lot of these AI tools can help kind of collaborate and culminate all that information into one spot. And so let's say if you're trying to come up with a name for a day spa, you could ask AI tools to help you brainstorm some names for a location. Most of them are probably not going to be great ideas. They might be too specific. You might have to then help narrow it down from there after the initial question, or you might not get any great ideas, but it might spark other ideas that are in your own head that you can like use it as a starting point. I also use it a lot of times for synonyms. Like if I'm working on something separately, I'll just pop over there and use it to ask me like, give me, 10 other ways to say XYZ or use this word, but in a different format. It's been so much better than just the generic thesaurus websites. I'm able to get a lot more tailored results. All right. I also have seen AI being used for hiring. So if you are looking to hire any sort of contractor or you are looking to hire an employee, use AI to help you come up with interview questions or to think through the different considerations so that you can be smarter with your next move. You can help it to craft your job description. And you might find some things that you never would have considered otherwise that are being pulled from other job descriptions. So this is on the hiring side. And you might also be able to leverage it for the side where you are trying to get hired to help you clean up your resume or a cover letter or help rewrite it to fit a specific use case. I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier but I also like to use it for competitor research. So I use it to help, I'll put competitors' URLs in and get a nice summary of their website to see what they do and what they offer. And so if I'm working on new website copy for myself or for a client and I want to go research a client really, their landscape, I might do a Google search, see who's in those like top few spots on Google. And then I'll pop those websites into an AI tool to look and see like what are they talking about? What keywords are they using? Where are the holes essentially? I'm still the one doing the analysis, but that research piece just got cut. The time that I spent just got cut dramatically from being able to get those summaries. Now, you don't want to be a lazy creator, right? So you always want to take what they're suggesting and say, okay, is this accurate or not? That's why reading through everything and editing it is so important. I think that was one of the questions about like relying on wrong information here. I'm just barely able to glance at these questions. We'll look at them in a second, but this might address that. You really need, like, the editing process needs to be a vital part of using any sort of AI tool. You have to make sure that what you're making, whether it's written or it's like, if you're using something like Midjourney or Leonardo to create graphics, you want to make sure that what you're using it on, the application, actually mocks up quite nicely. So for example, this e-commerce class that I took, we were using AI tools to create repeatable patterns that could be used to put on like leggings, for example. Well, if I'm going to try to put that product up for sale that I use to make that repeatable pattern, I want to get a sample of that that product before I put it up for sale. I want to look at the mock-ups of things to make sure that the patterns are actually aligning the way that it's showing, right? You want to make sure that there's not something glitchy or weird in the graphic that you're making. You know, if you're doing something written, you want to make sure that you're not just doing an exact copy paste. And this is where, like, a lot of my client stuff, I have to be really careful if there are exact details or stats that are being pulled into that article. I want to make sure, one, that I can easily source that, because if you're putting a blog up, we all know you want to be linking to it to help you with SEO. But people kind of expect that if you're citing a source of some, study for a statistic, you want to link to that so that people know where you're getting it from and that it's reliable and credible. So with any sort of AI writing, you want to make sure that you're following that same procedure. And so that's why I use AI a lot of times as just a starting point. And then I will flesh in those exact details for their specific industry later. And then I always like to do a gut check, whether it's a video or a graphic or anything written, does it really fit with my client's personality or my personality? And if it doesn't, like, don't use it just because it was easy and fun to use with AI. Like, we've all been creating content for many years before AI. You can keep doing it the old way. You don't have to use AI for everything. Also, one of the things I've learned is that if you put garbage in, you get garbage out. So learning how to write prompts is really a helpful thing. And obviously practice makes perfect. But don't be afraid to ask the AI tool to refine what they make the first time. You can have multiple iterations, and we all have experienced this with whether you're graphic design or you're writing something or a website creation. What you create the first time around is rarely what ends up being the final product. There's always a few iterations. And use the same string of content. This is like with ChatGPT, so that AI tool starts to learn your voice or your client's voice. So that's one important thing. As you're writing prompts, this is just kind of a basic primer here, is to establish who you are and tell the AI tool what you want. Then explain the tasks of what you need. So this is, example, you're a grant writer. We need a compelling narrative for this grant proposal about what we're doing. You want to state the problem, describe the solution, and use vivid language and data in your response. You're telling the AI tool, I want you to reword what the problem is, tell whoever's reading it the solution, and use descriptive language and data, right? Tell them what the goal is, and then put in any constraints like word count or format. Like, do you need certain parts to be bulleted or word numbered lists? Does it need to be full on paragraph format? Is this a script that you're writing for a play? Tell them the format of what you're wanting to write. The more descriptive you can get with a prompt, the better content you will get from an AI tool. If you're using it just purely as curation or idea generation, you don't have to be as prescriptive with the prompts, but the more specific you get with the prompt, the more specific of a response you're going to get. Also be careful not to ask for too much in one prompt, and don't.
Excuse me, Valerie, just really
Yep.
quick, we're at like 2:22, so I bet you're gonna wrap up about 2:25, right? That'll work.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
No, that's just
Okay.
fine, because I want you to do your whole thing. Keep
Yep,
going.
we have just, I think, 2 more slides. So I think we're in good shape. We might have time for a few questions, and then I'm assuming, Joyce, you'll give everyone my contact information if they didn't grab it from the
Yeah,
chat.
and also just really quick on the slides, were you wanting to send this out directly yourself? Or
I can pass it over to you if you got
I'll
it.
take care of that. Yeah, don't worry,
Okay.
sweetie. Mhm.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so okay, so we'll just wrap up here with these final thoughts here about prompts. You want to be careful not to give it too much in one request, because then the AI tool doesn't know quite where to focus, at least not yet. And then don't contradict your requests. So be careful that you're not saying, you know, write for this, but also don't write for that. Like, just make sure that it's writing for a specific purpose. And then also don't believe everything that it says. So again, I think there's still just a lot of testing that needs to happen here. And, you know, hopefully you have some processes in place within your client work or your own business where you are checking some of these things. There's other people in the business who are looking at things, and you can sniff out if something erroneous got into the mix. As we mentioned to start, we want to make sure we're using it as a tool and not using it as a crutch. So, like, you're still in control of things. And I think I've become more comfortable talking about using AI with clients, because I am wording it as this is a tool that we're using to help make things more effective, more strategic, but it's not we're not having it do all the work, you know? So make sure you're using it as a tool. So where is content going now? Like, with AI becoming such a dominant force, this is kind of where I want to leave us. What are you going to do to stand out? I mean, obviously, I think the more we can incorporate AI into our tool belt, the more relevant we're going to be to clients, to, you know, recruiters, or to potential employers. But I'm also seeing that story is becoming much more dominant. So your personal experience, your personal stories that AI can't generate for you. They can't replicate the bats that we found in our house after we bought it. Like, they can't replicate those experiences, but I can infuse that personality into what I'm creating, and I can stand out that much more. I think people are going to crave community so much more, because there is such an influx of content out there. People are going to want that personal interaction where they know, hey, I'm on this Zoom. I know that that's Joyce on the other screen there. I know that that's her. And so there's some authentic interaction happening. I think audio and video is going to become a lot more of a game changer for people. And that real-time content that you could create for people is going to be really important. So think about how you can incorporate that in your strategy. And then I think you're just going to start seeing people using this, you know, this trend here with AI of how can you be more creative? You can use AI to be creative, but you also can, you'll start to see people being more creative outside of the realm of AI. And if anybody's been following Wendy's on Facebook in the last week or 2 months, you can see, like, there still are a lot of creative ideas out there. And if you're looking for a good laugh, go check out Wendy's on Facebook. But you'll just start to see people having to look a little bit more creatively to get their point across and to get their brand across. And then this final slide is really just connecting with me. I'd love to connect with you all. I know there's probably some other questions that we won't have time to address, but happy to help you sort through it and navigate things offline as much as we can. So Joyce, did you want to have time for a few questions? Joyce, you're muted. Joyce, you're muted.
She's not hearing you.
Joyce, you're muted. Joyce, we can't hear you.
Got off mute. Okay, start again, Joyce. All right, so really quickly, my bad. Next month, we are reprising, I guess I'd call it the June program, because in 6.5 years of doing this meetup, for the very first time, when I was having a meetup went down. Some of you were there and knew about it. And so we scratched that. And so James Lajoie is going to come back. He was there. We had like 6 of us, whatever, on August the 8th, and do a program on digital marketing. You can see it there in the meetup group. So I just want to let you know that's on if you haven't already RSVP. So that's the main thing I want to say in terms of upcoming events. So yeah, let's just say, I'll just call on people, just like if you want to just raise your hand or raise it virtually. I think everybody's on this one screen. Every quick question, and we can go for another, 3 to 5 minutes with questions.
There was some
I'd
good
rather have it be
questions. There were some
questions
good
than-
questions in the chat too.
Oh yeah, the questions in the chat, right. So if your question's in the chat, go ahead and ask it. I'd say not what you're doing with it so much right now, I think just for time purposes, but questions you have. Like the question that already been brought up about the factual, how factual is it, how up to date? So you said to check. Are there other questions people want to just pipe up, unmute and ask?
Feel free to unmute. I'm looking through the stream here.
Oh, good.
I can reiterate that question, the one about the fact checking. I was wondering if Valerie had any like kind of like boundaries. For example, I don't use ChatGPT for learning things that I don't have enough knowledge to fact check, or things that are really important, because I know that it can, it's not reliable in that way. So I was wondering if you had like a few, and you mentioned a few things, but like a couple of things or categories of things that you won't use it for.
Yeah, I think it's like that real estate program was probably a good example. I'm trying to remember what the name of it is. Opportunity zones, Colorado opportunity zones. And Nate probably knows what I'm talking about. A lot of other people may have never even heard of it. So my husband was looking into starting a business potentially and buying land in an opportunity zone. There were so many different websites to get the information from. He was finding it a little overwhelming to sift through all of those sites. So we put it into ChatGPT and asked some questions around it to get a good summary. Now, before he would ever do anything, he's definitely going to hire a CPA and an attorney and probably a real estate agent to help him. But for him on a Saturday night, researching and thinking through, is this a good idea for me to pursue? It was a good starting point for him to kind of sift through a large quantity of information. I think it's probably still a fairly safe bet to say, like, if you were going to hire a CPA to do your taxes, you wouldn't want to suddenly stop doing that and just rely on ChatGPT to help you understand tax code and tax laws. However, as somebody who is not the most financially literate, no matter how many times a CPA explains it to me, I might say, hey, explain XYZ as if a 5th grader could understand it, to help me understand, because no matter, I'm sorry if there's any CPAs or attorneys on here, there's so many times where I've had to go back and say, can you explain that in plain English? And they still can't do it. There's some people that their mind is just so technical that it is really hard. So I would just think through, if you were already going to hire a professional to help you with XYZ, you still want to hire that professional to help you, but it might make you a more educated consumer to know, oh, hey, when I'm talking to an attorney about building my estate plan, what they're saying jives with what I read or had ChatGPT summarize of what I should maybe consider. So a lot of this is really going to come down to kind of a gut check, but hopefully that helps with some parameters.
Maybe 1 or 2 more questions, or anybody else have something pressing? And like I said, go ahead, Jan. You're muted.
I just want to say that this was really a good eye opener. I've been using it for just a little bit, but I recently came to the realization that when you ask it for something, and let's say a lead magnet, and you say, hey, ChatGPT, give me 5 suggestions for a lead magnet for this particular subject. And, it has to be, you give the parameters and then it bangs it out, right? So you think it's a one-off, but it really isn't. The next thing you can prompt is say, okay, now take number 3 and write me some sales copy for that. And people don't know that. Like it's not like a one-off. Like you can say, now do this. Now that you did this, now you do that. And I think that's kind of a cool thing. The other thing is I love it with the ages, because that's really important on Facebook. There is a higher age thing happening on Facebook, whereas more younger people are on TikTok, right? So your copy for Facebook is going to be different than your copy for TikTok or for your copy for Instagram, for instance. And I like that. I like that you could differentiate the ages there. So that was a good tip too. So
Great.
thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
So many great tips. I'm honestly just a huge round of applause for Valerie. This has to go down as
Okay.
one of our very best presentations of all time. And this
Oh,
is
Joyce, you're so sweet. Thank you.
6.5 years of fabulous speakers. So I just thank you so much in the bottom of my heart. And I want to tell you folks, how did I know to ask Valerie to give this talk? Paying attention on my LinkedIn, I saw that she was, did you go in person up there or did you do that on Zoom?
I did go in person. It worked out and I needed to get out of my house.
She went
crazy.
She went up to the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley, and Denny McCorkle, is that right? His name?
Yeah.
The professor for this class, he had her come to give this very same, a little longer version probably of it to these students. And I saw that, I go, oh my God, I got to get Valerie to my meetup group. So you see, it always pays attention to, you know, pop into your LinkedIn feed now and again, you'll get little like gems like that. That's how she came to, I mean, I'd already known her for a long time, but I didn't know she talked on AI. So again, come next month. There's always great people to meet. Thank you all of the newbies here. It's fun to have you. It's just such a wonderful community. I'm so blessed that someone a long time ago, who was actually a very mean business coach to me, gave me the idea of setting up my own group. That was the wonderful legacy of a guy that would make me cry in front of other people in a business coaching session. But you know, there's good that comes out of everything. So yeah. So stick around for a little bit if you want to chat with anybody here or me or Valerie, but I'll get you that. I'll definitely get you the slide deck and the link to the, like I said, the recording of this talk she just gave. So I think we can turn off our recording. I think we are done here. Okay, very good.